I'm ready. It's not me. Oh. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tilting Ground Untitled Notre Dame USC Football Podcast. I'm USC fan Michael Muto, and I'm here with Notre Dame expert Greg Flamong. Greg, big weekend. How are you doing?
Doing great, man. Just feeling good about myself. Things went really well
Great.
for both of us.
For both of us. Yes, this will be, I think, probably a little bit of an abbreviated pod for me, at least on the USC stuff. Amon-Ra St. Muto, as I like to call her, was born this weekend, so my attention was not the USC game, but I did watch. I did watch most of the Notre Dame game, so I'm ready to discuss. So, bear with me. I'm on that new dad sleep schedule. So, but let's start with Notre Dame.
Wait a second.
Oh, okay.
My friend had his first child. Congratulations.
Yes.
A wonderful young lady. Everyone is very happy.
Yes.
You sent me the text. You sent me the text of you holding her, and it just hard to place. I was like, man, my man Muto is a daddy.
Yep.
And so
it happened.
It brought back nice memories of my first.
I got a couple texts. Well. Oh yeah. And yeah, Greg's a dad like twice over, almost three. So
twice, about to be thrice.
He's this is weathered territory for him. So now when you hear cries in the background, you won't know whose kid it'll be.
You don't know.
So that'll be fun.
Exactly. It was mine last week. I think that was Wesley.
Or maybe authenticity, we keep them in. So anything's possible.
Yeah. Just let the people know what we're going through to bring you the content.
But it's been a great season, so it's worthwhile.
It has.
All right, hit me. Notre Dame. They had a new. Well, I guess it's not a new quarterback anymore. They have a entrenched starting quarterback, Ian Book. They're taking on Stanford, coming to Notre Dame. Because of the baby, I did not get any Jewel Shillelaghs in on the game in time, though I did ask you.
You did ask me, and I definitely hedged.
You did hedge. I thought you were going to go all in on Notre Dame, and you did not. But it was a close game. Ian Book looked good, and then Notre Dame just looked great after looking good.
Yeah, that fourth quarter really went how you want it to go. You know what it is, Michael?
Mm-hmm.
So Tim sent me an email.
Friend of the pod, Tim Narkis.
Friend of the pod, Tim Narkis. Always angling to get on the pod too.
Always.
And I always tease him about it. It's funny. And so he emailed me like this morning, what like the new quarterback, like how does it change how you feel about the season? And I was thinking about it, and it just occurred to me, and I put it on Twitter, so I didn't have to email him because he saw it. I put it on Twitter that it reminds me of when USC made the change to Darnold in 2016, because that team was, aside from the losses, right? Like they had a sluggish offense. Their defense was pretty good. But it was just like, this team is like, they're not doing anything. Like,
right.
It's like you're thinking at the time, like, how are they going to like navigate the schedule that they have? Like, they can't move the ball. They're inconsistent. And then they moved to Darnold and everything switched. Like, it was totally different.
Just a breath of fresh air. As they like to say.
And I remember when it happened, I thought, this team, they may not lose again, because why would they? Like, all of a sudden their offense is great and the defense is still good too.
And everybody buys in, new energy.
Right.
It's all cliche, but it's true. And
it
play with emotion sometimes.
Well, it's just like everyone's excited. Like, everyone feels like, especially on the offense, is like, okay, like we have the whole playbook now. Like, we can do things. We can utilize the weapons that we have. And that's what it feels like to me. Like, with Ian Book now, the last two games, he's completed like 72% of his passes. You know, what is it? They've had 1,100 yards of offense, 7 yards of play, or whatever it is. I mean, it's just everything's clicking.
They're wide open.
Yeah, like things are just. I mean, it's all available for them, and for the first time since, I don't know, probably like the mid 2000s, like they just kind of beat up on Stanford. Like they just basically said, like they set the standard of play and Stanford could not maintain it. Like eventually they just wilted and then Notre Dame put the hammer on them and then that was it.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much what happened. I have a hot Stanford take when we get a little later into the game. Okay. But I mean, they look great. The Notre Dame looked great. They hung around, then they big play after big play. It was. I hate Stanford, so it was great to watch.
Well, I'll tell you what I really liked about it is the Stanford won the toss, elected to receive, which like I don't remember them ever doing that. They seem like the type of team that would not do that.
Right.
But they did, which I'm thrilled about. And they went 3 and out. Notre Dame gets the ball and they drive to like the 50. And it's 4th and 1. And they go for it and they don't get it. And first of all, I love that they went for it. Second of all, I love that they tried to run it at them, even though it didn't work. Like they still tried it. And it was like it was nothing. Like they didn't get it. And then Stanford like went 3 and out right away, and Notre Dame got the ball back, and they went down and scored. And I think that's the attitude of Brian Kelly. It's like what we talked about in week 1. He has this arrogance about him, like this assuredness that he just knows his team is good, and it just like wasn't a big deal. Like they went for it. At the 50-yard line to start the game and they didn't get it. Like you could have had, like there could have been this.
We blew it. This was our chance.
Yeah, like this is our this.
This is going to be a slugfest. Here we go again.
Here we go again against Stanford. Like they always find a way to beat us, and it just didn't happen. Like they just shrugged it off, and then they got the ball and went down the field and scored. And then Stanford answered back, and then Notre Dame answered back. I mean, it was just they kept. Like nothing mattered. Like it didn't matter that Stanford hung around with them for a little bit. Like Notre Dame kept making the plays.
Right.
And it's usually the other way around.
Well, Notre Dame did luck out because Bryce Love got a little banged up.
How dare you? Lucked out. Lucked out fiddlesticks. Because I'm going to tell you why, Michael. I'm going to tell you why it's not lucked out.
Okay.
Bryce Love got hurt in the 4th quarter when Notre Dame was up 24-17, and he got hurt on a 3rd down run in which he lost like 3 yards.
Yep, that's true.
And then they punted to Notre Dame, and then Notre Dame went down and scored. And then on the first Stanford play, the next possession, they threw an interception. And on the next Notre Dame play, they scored a touchdown again. It was 38-17. So the number of plays that were run by Stanford post Bryce Love injury were 3, and Notre Dame scored 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, just one. There was one play in between.
Yeah.
And then Notre Dame scored 2 touchdowns. So, like, you could have had Bryce Love in the game. It wouldn't have mattered.
That's true. Well, I have a hot take.
Not having him didn't matter.
This is my hot take. Bryce Love has never been the same since the Pac-12 title game when they ran him out on gimpy legs, play after play against UCLA. I mean, USC, I'm sorry. Whoa, dad brain. And everyone talks about how David Shaw is a class guy. And, he's a real competitor. He does things the right way. And I thought it was appalling last year at the time. You can go back, listen to the episode, that they just kept trotting this poor kid out on a bum leg, trying to run plays against the USC defense, and he couldn't get anything done. And I contend that since that moment, he's never been the same. Because he's still good. It's like, he can make big plays. He can,
right.
Like, I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying, like, that one game not being what he usually is, but still trying to compete, still playing hurt, it just did something to him.
So maybe the ankle never got right.
Right, and that's on David Shaw.
Because when he got tackled again, like the ankle, I don't know if it's the same ankle or whatever, but that got rolled up on too.
Yeah, he's been a little banged up all year. I mean, he didn't look good against San Diego State. He hasn't been the same guy that he was last year.
He has not looked good all year, at least compared to last season.
Right.
In this game, I think he had what was a 40-yard touchdown run.
Yeah.
Ended up with like 73 yards.
I mean, that's it. He does that a lot. He's a big home run hitter kind of guy. But yeah, I just think that ever since that moment, he lost something. And I don't know if it's on him. I don't know if it's on his body. And, it's football. Like, I don't really want people to get hurt and things like that.
Of course.
Like we're all humans. But I just kind of think like.
No, it's not a bad point.
Yeah. That's all I think of when I saw him get hurt. I was like, man, David Shaw did this to him. And that's why running backs should leave early. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Speaking of running backs, Mike.
Oh, great segue. You took the words out of my mouth.
Yes, sir. Dexter Williams. I mean, I don't even know what to say about how perfect it is that the kid on his first carry just goes and scores a touchdown. It was like 45 yards or whatever it was. I mean, you could see him too. They could have called him for a penalty for moving forwards too soon. He was so excited.
Just wanted it.
To get the ball. It was his first play, and he's kind of inching forward at the snap, like his body movement. They give it to him, cuts right. Beautiful cut. And then the poor safety just has nothing. Like he's in the middle of nowhere. Dexter has a two-way go. He just runs right around him, untouched for a touchdown. I mean, it's just beautiful. It was beautiful. He finishes with 161 yards and 21 carries. I mean, that's how you do it, Michael.
That's the most carries he's had in like 4 games, right? The 21. I feel like he's never got that many touches.
He's never. Maybe it was 10.
Yeah.
I mean, he's never had that many touches, but he looked good. Obviously, and look, fresh legs, right?
Right.
First game. He hasn't been playing like everyone else has, so that's a factor.
But that could hurt you too. It doesn't.
No, absolutely. Maybe he's a little winded or a little gassed or whatever, but I mean, he looked awesome.
We always knew he was explosive. Like whenever he got chances to play, when Brian Kelly would let him off the sideline, he would look great. He'd score touchdowns. We never got that consistent workload. And look good on Saturday.
I mean, look, he looked like the type of player that could comfortably, handle that kind of load. Maybe not week to week because that's tough for any back, I think now, but just, a couple games here and there, if you need him to, you can ride him. He ran hard. He ran, nice vision, nice burst. I mean, just like a different type of runner than they've had so far this year. And this is what we were waiting for. And I kept talking about it. Like, what's it going to be like when Dexter comes back? And he added a whole new dimension. So Notre Dame's got the new quarterback and they've got the new running back.
So it's like 2 new dimensions.
Yes.
So they're like in the 5th dimension.
Yes. So
my guy, Alize Mack got a touchdown.
He did.
Long overdue.
It is funny because he I predicted he was going to have a big game like 10 minutes before the game started on Twitter, and he absolutely did not. And it was like his one catch. He had another chance to catch a ball, and he dropped it.
That sounds about right.
They had a big run on 3rd and 16 or whatever that he got called for holding. He tackled a guy. He just wasn't playing well. And then Chip Long draws up the perfect play, the tight end throwback. I mean, honestly, I think the forward pass was invented because someone was like, hey, what if we roll right and throw back to the tight end?
It's a great play. It was a great play.
It's never been covered. It's like 90% success rate.
That was a Pete Carroll staple.
Absolutely. Just 90% of the time, it works. And they got him on that. I mean, I don't know. And then you got Jerry Tillery on defense with his 4 sacks. Khalid Kareem's got a sack. I mean, they were constantly just in the backfield, hitting the quarterback. I mean, it was beautiful, Michael.
So is it time to talk college football playoff?
No.
Okay, all right.
No. And here's why. Because first of all, they just lost their best offensive lineman.
That did happen.
Alex Bars, left guard, like torn ACL and MCL. So that's no good. And while the guy who filled in for him, he started against Wake Forest at the other guard position. And he's an upperclassman, so he's experienced. And he's played well in all the minutes that he's had. You just don't know how that's going to be. It's like, oh, now you're the starter, and you're replacing a captain, right? It's different.
That's true. That's true.
So there's that. Plus, it's like with Notre Dame, you just got to see it. Like, I got to see it first before I can start thinking about that stuff.
Okay.
They got to go on the road to Blacksburg next weekend. They have Virginia Tech, who lost to.
Well, they lost that opening game of the season, right? And
No,
they won. That's right. They
won. They beat Florida State.
Yeah, but that was
and everyone thought that was a great win, and it's like, oh wait, maybe Florida State's like really awful.
Right.
They lost to some terrible team, though.
Old Dominion.
That's right. Who was 0-3.
Yeah.
So they lost to them, but then they beat Duke last week with the new.
Duke's pretty good, but Duke got hurt, right? I know they have a bunch of injured guys.
I am not sure, but I know that they were on the road and Duke was ranked at the time.
Okay.
So, and it was Duke's first loss.
Always a formidable opponent, Virginia Tech.
Hey, look, you're going to Blacksburg, man. Like, they're going to be fired up.
All right.
So,
it's just a test.
And really, like, it doesn't even matter, right? Like, we don't have to talk about the playoffs until it's time to talk about it.
Until the rankings come out, those
and even then, rankings. Like, who cares? Like, Notre Dame's been ranked as a playoff team before.
They have.
And it didn't turn out.
No.
So, I'm just trying to enjoy this team. I mean, I love the way that they play. I love how they're coached. I mean, it's the perfect blend of running and passing. It's like the last 3 weeks, ever since the Ball State disaster, right? When they just, I mean, I thought the offensive line was in crisis.
Yeah, they did not look good early in the season.
Yeah, the last 3 weeks, they're averaging 253 yards a game, 5.3 a carry. They have 8 rushing touchdowns. In Ian Book's 2 starts, he's 73% passing, 603 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. I mean, it's totally different. I mean, post Vanderbilt, Notre Dame was, I think, in the 80s in S&P in offense. And now I want to say they're like 35th or 37th or something like that.
That's a big jump.
They made up like 50 spots in 2 weeks.
That's crazy.
So
that's all because of one man or 2, I guess. Dexter Williams probably.
That helps.
Yeah.
So and the defense is sitting there 5th.
Yeah, they're a good unit, that Notre Dame defense. Stout, as they say.
Very much so. Very much so. And I wrote an article about the pass rush and how that was the last thing coming, and getting sacks because they'd had a ton of pressures, and then they all came in one of the biggest games of the season. I mean, it's just beautiful.
Good for you and good for Notre Dame.
Yes, sir.
Now, the reason I bring up college football playoff is because the only hope I have this season, or my biggest hope this season for the USC Trojans, is that they can play spoiler to Notre Dame in the last game of the season.
No.
That's the only saving grace.
Let me tell you something. I was thinking about that on the drive home today, and I don't want to play your team. I don't want to play them because they're a perfect kind of team to play spoiler because they have so many like big play people.
They have good players.
They do have good players. They have great players.
They have great players.
And you've got your receivers, and they're a problem. You got big play threats. They're just going to be throwing deep all game. I don't want any part of it.
Fortunately for you, a Notre Dame USC game would probably be not quite in that Pac-12 after dark hour. So I think things would stay normal and nothing crazy would happen.
I don't know, Michael.
There's nothing worse than Pac-12 after dark.
It seems like they're gonna run off a string of wins. Oh, I mean, I guess it depends what happens against Colorado. They have a bye this week, right?
That's a great question that you think I know the answer to, and I don't have handy. That sounds right. The 7th, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that weekend. And then Notre Dame has a bye the following week,
Yeah,
correct?
it was the 13th, yeah.
All right, then yes. So that's good. No, I mean, honestly, I say it every week about USC before we get to the Arizona game. It's like there's a bunch of crappy teams in the Pac-12 South. They'll win most of them, lose a couple. They'll win 8 games, 9 games, whatever. And they'll play in a bowl game, probably lose because that's what they do. And rinse, wash, repeat for next season.
Yeah.
But let's get into it. So let me tell you what I was doing on Arizona USC night. So I watched the first quarter. I got a lot of time to watch. Oxford Ware looked good. They're clicking. SC jumps out, to a lead. Arizona's doing nothing. So I kind of stopped paying attention. I got new dad duties to take care of.
Of course.
No big deal. So the game's 24-7, I believe, is what happened. And the house is finally quiet. We're all settling down. I have me and the baby. I'm like, I let my wife go to sleep first usually, so she gets like a little 10-minute head start on me.
Got to do it.
In case I'm loud or, playing on my phone or something. So I'm like, okay. So I sit down with the baby 24/7. Interception. I'm like, oh, no. This is really hot. The next play, Khalil Tate. Not Khalil Tate. What's his name?
That's his name.
What's his name? Okay, great. It's been a rough week. He thought it was a perfect touchdown to the wide receiver in the corner of the end zone. Now it's 24-14. And I send Greg the Pac-12 After Dark text. I have to start watching. Then USC fumbles. And then Arizona scores. And then it's like, great. This is great. Now I really have to watch this game. And then I got to sit there all night and watch garbage football. Arizona pull a Washington State. And I had not quite a Washington State, but Arizona have like 9 plays inside the 10-yard line to score a touchdown.
Yes.
And they couldn't do it. And they ran off like 2 minutes of the clock at the end
Way
of the game.
too many plays.
Oh, it's just brutal watching these bad Pac-12 teams. They had the ball at the 1-yard line and they couldn't score. It was just wild. They had like their 100-pound running back there trying to score. Anyways, in the end, USC is victorious, like we all thought. I don't remember if they covered or not. I think it was 3.5.
I think they did.
I think they did, yeah.
Yeah, because it was 24-20, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a missed extra point. And then the commentator had, so many people are excited about that missed extra point.
Yeah.
Which is always fun at night. But yeah, I mean, they're playing Arizona. I don't know how to gauge that. Arizona's not good. Arizona's quarterback is terrible. He's hobbling around on one leg.
When did he hurt his ankle?
I think he hurt his ankle in week 1, and then it's never been right. And
they just keep chucking him out there?
Yeah, he might have got dinged up again on Saturday.
Oh, got it. Okay.
But, yeah, he hasn't been right all season. And they just trot this poor kid out there who can't run, trying to run a new offense. And it's just terrible for 3 quarters. And then USC, the most undisciplined team in the nation, they let Arizona back in and hold on for the win. USC, Clay Helton got called for a penalty for running into the referees. That's how many penalties USC can get in a game. I think they had like 9 in the first quarter, which is wild. It's just, I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel. I don't know what I want. JT Daniels looked okay. He underthrew Michael Pittman one time, which got me mad because it was like a guaranteed touchdown. But he's 18, so you get what you pay for there. ESPN went to bat for people repeating the 8th grade to be better in athletics. I thought that was really funny and classy. That's where we are.
That's why they're repeating 8th grade, because they're good in athletics.
Yeah, so that was funny. I mean, that might have been the highlight of the game for me. I was hearing, was it Rod? What's his name? Just go to bat. Rod Tillman? No.
Rod Jones. No.
Yeah.
Rod Gilmore.
There it is, Rod Gilmore. Go to bat for the Daniels family for holding their kid back to be better at football.
I mean, whatever.
Whatever.
It worked out.
It totally worked out for now.
It was the game was very reminiscent of like Notre Dame, Ball State, or Notre Dame, Vanderbilt.
Yeah, for sure.
Is like, oh man, like now you guys got to. And the thing is you really got bailed out by the fact that Arizona kept trying to run it into the end zone.
Oh yeah,
from inside the 5, and they weren't getting it, and the clock kept running, and they didn't have their timeouts. They only had one left,
which they eventually had to use.
They reached the 5 with like, I don't know, 3.5 minutes left or 4 minutes left.
Yeah,
and they didn't score until 1:49. So it's like, well, now you like if you don't get the onside kick, the game's over. Whereas that wasn't the case. Like you could have kicked it deep.
Yeah.
Before. So you're helped out by that.
Amon Marshall had 2 pass interference plays on the last drive, so good on him. We haven't said his name in a while.
One when he intercepted a pass, which is very exciting.
Yes, I think that was a little dicey too, but whatever.
Then he kind of threw him to the ground.
He mugged a guy on the touchdown.
Yeah, he kind of threw him to the ground, and Clay Helton was very upset.
It's like, but that's how they teach him. What do you want? And when they showed Clancy Pendergast on the sideline, I just feel like he's a guy that doesn't talk to anyone. He just looks like he stands there and just dials in the defensive plays, doesn't give commentary, doesn't get fired up. He's just collecting a paycheck. He's like, I'm kind of good at this. I kind of know what I'm doing, and just let me do my thing, and I don't really care.
The matchup between Clay Helton and Kevin Sumlin is just incompetence run amok. I mean, because like you have Clay Helton who's staring at the field, right? Like it's my favorite thing. Like I nothing makes me happier than beating Stanford by 21 and then watching USC play later and Clay Helton just staring at the field. And he does a thing where he like terses his like face and he always points at the ref and he's like with the finger like, come here, and he always wants them to come here and they never do.
They never come.
And they never come because they're like, we're done talking to you, actually. And he's always upset. And then you go to Kevin Sumlin on the other side, and he's just kind of like confused, staring at the field, like not really sure what's going on. Like he seems skeptical. Like Arizona's coming back, and he has the skeptical look on his face. Like
what's happening?
I don't think this is going to work out. Like this isn't – I don't like this. So he's got that look going on his face. And it's just like the game is happening on the field. And so you have those two guys, and you've got USC committing penalty after penalty. And then you have Arizona with this just terrible clock management, continuing to roll out their quarterback who can't move.
Yeah, that was fun. That's a fun little
recall. It's great. Like he's just every play is just like, let's run him. Let's roll him out. Let's have him just move the pocket. And the kid can barely walk. And it was, after the game, you've got USC Twitter is just apoplectic. Like they're so upset. Like, how did this happen? Like we won, but we should have killed Arizona. It was 24-0. They're a terrible team. Who was the former player? It was Dominic Davis or Justin Davis.
Justin Davis. He was on the Raiders for a second. I don't know where he is anymore.
Yes. He sent a tweet out that it's like, dog, Oregon and Washington don't need onside kicks to beat Arizona.
Right.
And so this whole thing with USC's former players just going in on the current squad every week.
Fantastic.
Is another great part of this season.
I love it. And Clay Helton will be there for the next 4 years. It'll be fantastic.
I'll tell you what's very exciting. At one point, Aka Cedric Ware had like 15 carries for like 140 yards. And they just couldn't stop him. For whatever reason, they just couldn't get a handle on the guy. And so then they go up 24-0, 17-0. And then he's just gone. He just disappears. And they don't give him the ball anymore for like 2.5 quarters. And then finally at the end, they needed to move the ball a little bit. and then they started giving them the ball again, and then the USC kid fumbles, the tight end.
Yeah.
And it's just so, like, it just goes to show that T. Martin, he just doesn't have the patience. He doesn't have the patience to say, you know what, like, they can't stop us on the ground.
Just keep banging away.
We're just going to keep doing it. We have our 3 running backs. And they just couldn't. He wanted to air it out. He wanted to throw it some more. And you're throwing the ball, and when that happens, they're just not as efficient through the air as they have been.
You're stopping the clock.
And suddenly drives are stalling. And, it's not working out. And then all of a sudden, Arizona's coming back. You're turning the ball over. You're committing penalties. But then at the same time, you won the game and on to the next one.
Win's a win.
Win is a win, sir.
It's great.
So, I love it. It's like this really could not be going better because you can see how terribly coached they are.
But he's a class act. Clay Helton's a class act. Class guy.
I was thinking of something, Michael.
Okay, hit me.
I want to go back to 2016.
Okay.
Brian Kelly, he changed his quarterback when they were 3-0, ranked 8th in the country. And as obvious as it looks now, at the time, it wasn't so obvious, right?
Right.
That it would even work. But he did it, and suddenly his offense is apparently a juggernaut. I want to go back to 2016. Let's say USC loses to Bama, right?
All right, like they did.
Like they did. Maybe not as bad as they did, right? Maybe it's a little bit like better.
A touchdown was scored.
And then you have somehow they find a way to beat Stanford, and they're 2-1. Does he ever make the switch?
Not a chance.
He doesn't do it, right?
Never. He barely did it in 2016.
Because like you could make a, like, let's say they don't open with Bama and they open with a tomato can, and then you go, even if they started 2-0 and then lost to Stanford, he doesn't make the switch to Darnold.
No, he can't. He doesn't have it in him.
He wouldn't. And I was thinking, like, Clay Helton would have never gone away from Wimbush. He would, or something, or that sort of situation. He would have stayed the course. He never would have done it.
And he wouldn't let T. Martin probably pull Wimbush, or nope, we're sticking with him. That's our guy.
That's true, because the word is that Chip Long, Notre Dame's offensive coordinator, he was the one who was telling Kelly, like, look, we got to make a move. We got to make a move. Like, this is not.
It's not working. This situation is not working.
And Brian Kelly, I mean, maybe he felt the same way, but he trusted him and said, okay, like, we'll make the move. And they made the move. And
you got to give Brian Kelly credit for that kind of stuff. Like, he sticks to his guns.
No, it's his call.
He knows what he wants, and he'll do it. Right or wrong, he'll do it. And Clay Helton doesn't know what he wants, and right or wrong, he will hem and haw his way to get somewhere.
And getting back to Notre Dame for a second, one of my favorite things about the game on Saturday was during all of the happenings that were going on, Brian Kelly has got this look on his face, like, this is just so unimpressive. And it reminded me of Phil Jackson when the Lakers were having their big runs, with Shaq and Kobe first and then Kobe and Powell. Like, the Lakers would just be crushing it, and he would just be sitting on the sideline, like, looking.
Like, bad series. That's a bad series. We need better.
Disinterested.
I've seen this, yeah.
And it's like, hey, what's with the missed block, though?
Yeah.
Like, meanwhile, you're just crushing this team. Ugh.
Clay Helton would never look like that.
He would never look like that.
Yeah, he's like some politician from a TV show, who just kind of hangs around and like some middle politician on The Wire.
I agree.
Making Baltimore worse, but by trying to keep his job and not doing anything. Just never does anything. Just trying to keep his job. Great guy.
Keep him forever, Michael.
I can't wait. So yeah, USC has a bye next week. That's good. Maybe they'll right the ship, get JT Daniels some more reps. I'm trying to think if there's anything else from the game that really stood out to me that I liked. I mean, August Cedric Ware, always like when he goes off. Always like USC's wide receivers. Love going deep, even if it doesn't work out.
Those are a talented group of guys, man.
Yeah. I feel like if things go like they did last season, because I feel like all last year, for a good 8 episodes of this thing, I was complaining about wide receivers, and then suddenly Tyler Vaughns and Michael Pittman showed up, and it was like a whole new world in USC land.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking maybe that same thing happens again this year. Now, probably it goes with who they're playing. When UCLA shows up on the schedule, when Arizona State shows up on the schedule, it's like, oh, look how great these guys are. This is fantastic. So, whatever. Confidence is confidence. That's kind of what I'm hoping for.
Speaking of UCLA, are they going to win a game this year?
They might not. They look terrible.
They are terrible. They are really bad.
So that's great. That's great for me. Watch them beat SC. Just watch. That'd be the most embarrassing thing. I don't even think Clay Hunt would make it to Notre Dame if UCLA beat SC this year. The pitchforks would be out.
I think that's true.
All right. I hear it in the background. Dad duty calls. Greg, it was a great win by Notre Dame. Keep marching on to up the rankings. USC will continue futility and committing lots of penalties. And we will be back next week. Look for Greg at uhnd.com, writing articles all week. Twitter, Greg2126. Michael Bean on Twitter. Follow the podcast, Tilting Ground, and fight on.
Go Irish.